The Senate Intelligence Committee is holding a hearing this morning about the ongoing threat to U.S. elections. The committee released its first report on Russian interference in the 2016 election yesterday. It suggests that states need more resources. The report urges the government to, quote, clearly communicate that an attack on our election infrastructure is a hostile act. Oklahoma Republican James Lankford is a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. He joins us from Capitol Hill for an interview you'll only see this morning on CBS This Morning. Senator Lankford, good morning. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Let me start with this communicating to any country that would meddle in the U.S. elections that it is a hostile act. The CIA director, outgoing CIA director, says Russia is continuing to interfere, and he expects them to interfere in the next election. Given that, and given this hostile act notion, what's your view of the president's congratulatory phone call to Putin yesterday?
Well, let me take on a couple of things there. One is I would assume Russia would continue to be able to press in, as I would also expect nations like North Korea or Iran or domestic hacktivist groups that just want to be able to stir a problem to be able to follow the example that Russia laid down. So they did it this time. They showed it could be done. Now I'd expect there be other copycats and other folks to engage. So I would expect that we would be more diligent next time to be able to help communicate that to our states. The last time we communicated that to the states, it came out as a bulletin from the FBI saying, hey, watch out for these IP addresses. They may be a problem, but it didn't really state what was happening nor the seriousness of it. So that's a big issue. As far as President Trump calling President Putin and to congratulate him, obviously President Obama did the same thing when President Putin won last time. Russia has not been our friend for a very long time. That's consistent, but I would hope that the president, every time that he talks to Putin, would bring up things like arms race issues, he would bring up human rights issues, and he would bring up election security.
President Obama did congratulate, but he also reportedly told President Putin to knock it off when it came to interfering with the elections. I just wonder if you can tell the states to be more vigilant, but why not take it to the head end, which is if U.S. intelligence officials believe the Russians are behind this, a message communicated directly from the president to the president of Russia would seem to be a very effective way to say knock it off.
No, I totally agree. The Treasury Department has now put sanctions down on Russian companies and on Russian individuals. When Mueller did the indictments about a month ago of these Russian individuals that clearly were trying to do through social media meddling in our elections, the White House responded by putting sanctions on those individuals and starting that process. Department of Homeland Security a year ago started the process of trying to be able to engage on election security. We'll hear that today in the testimony, and we'll ask the question in public what we have asked in private for a year. What are we doing to actually help protect our elections in the future? And we'll hear their progress of what they've done, providing greater access, providing security clearances to individuals, getting clear lines of communication, both directions between states and Department of Homeland Security to be able to cut this off in the future.
Senator, if the president reportedly did ignore his advisors' explicit warnings not to congratulate Vladimir Putin during their phone call, are you concerned that he will not heed their warnings and their advice when he speaks with Kim Jong-un?
I really don't know what the advisors said. Obviously, the meeting with Kim Jong-un is exceptionally important and should be well scripted and should be well done by all of our State Department and by the White House as well to be able to engage. There are a lot of issues, not only Americans that are currently held captive in North Korea, the nuclear issues with North Korea that are clear they're threatening the entire region, but it's an extremely important meeting and a meeting that's historic in many ways that hasn't happened in decades and decades. So it needs to be right and it needs to be clear because we face a very real threat.
We haven't seen much pushback on this Washington Post story that the president did not listen to his advisors when they said do not congratulate Vladimir Putin. Does that concern you?
It doesn't. Quite frankly, any president can do what the president chooses to do. You can go back as far as President Reagan was advised multiple times not to say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. He was advised by the State Department and multiple advisors, don't say that word. And it's one of the most famous lines from President Reagan. So again, presidents say what presidents choose to say, but they also need to understand they carry the weight of the entire United States. So I would hope every president is careful in what they say, including this one.
Well, before we run out of time, Stephen Colbert had a little fun at your expense, you and your colleagues yesterday. I'm sure you've seen that video, but we want to play it and hear your reaction to it, Senator. Hope you're a good sport.
I had a call with President Putin and congratulated him on the victory, his electoral victory.
Today, a bipartisan group of senators gave a press conference about our response to Russian cyber attacks, and they were asked about that call.
We're talking about election integrity here. Could you comment on the idea that the president today called Vladimir Putin to congratulate him on winning his election? Thank you.
Smoke bomb! Are they gone?
Senator Lankford, hope you've got your sense of humor this morning. But
I do.
Did the question throw you, or did you guys just decide we're not going to answer it? And what did you think about that Colbert bit?
None of us had heard that the president had called and had congratulated Putin. So obviously we had all been in intelligence hearings that morning. We'd not even heard that. That's the first time any of us had heard it. And Stephen Colbert is correct. If I'd have had a smoke bomb, I would have used it at that point just to be able to slip out, because we were all caught off guard thinking, I don't even know what to be able to say. And that was, as you can tell from the video, it's a bipartisan group all staring at it thinking, I have no response this time.
It was a unison no response there.
And Senator, quickly before we let you go, I just want to get your thoughts on the data mining scandal. Is the Senate Intelligence Committee going to want to be hearing from Facebook executives or Steve Bannon and Jared Kushner, for that matter, who said that they've worked for and used Cambridge Analytica?
Yes, we have in the past, and we will continue to do that. Cambridge Analytica has been on our radar for a very long time, but this also brings up a big issue that y'all have followed in the past, and many other folks have as well. That's the issue of the data mining from Facebook for a very long time. This has been a decade in the process. Multiple campaigns going back to the Obama campaign, the Senate campaigns, other campaigns, and quite frankly, every marketer across the country have been able to get access to all of this personal data for individuals. And when people push accept, that I'm going to accept all of the privacy standards, they assume there are things that are private. They're finding out now all that data has been sold, and has been sold for years. So there are multiple issues here, both on Americans' privacy for their information, on campaigns, how they function, and on particularly the presidential campaign as well.
Senator Lankford, thank you so much for joining us and for being a good sport about laughing at yourself. Thank you.
I can take it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Yes, you can. You can take it.